Listen-only mode.
Hey, welcome everyone. It's me, your most humble platinum coach, Todd Walters. And I was just talking to Craig. He just left for a quick break to grab a cup of coffee, so he'll be back in a minute. And we're pretty excited about seeing everybody in Toronto. I know Craig's real excited because he doesn't have to go far. But I'm looking forward to it. Toronto's a great city, especially this time of year. And one of the most favorite things that I do for Platinum members is this workshop. Let me just tell you why. Number one is the Quantum Leap system is, obviously, you guys know, I know it really well. So when I get to stand up for 2.5 days and basically teach and coach members on the Quantum Leap system, everything from the time the lead comes in to leveraging that lead for its lifetime value, conversion, sales, persuasion skills, everything associated with selling a house, selling somebody's home, or finding the buyer a house, all those things associated with it from the moment the lead turns, shows up in our database. There's a lot involved. It literally takes 2.5 days to go through everything that deals with the lifetime or the lifespan of this prospect. So I enjoy those 2.5 days. So if you've always wanted to know how it is or why it is that Craig Proctor, myself, can be very, very successful generating a lot of leads and converting those prospects to enormous numbers of clients and then leveraging those clients to get more business, there's no better 2.5 days to find out how and why that is than these workshops. Okay, so I've been told over the decade that we've been doing them for Platinum members that it is one of the best things that we do for this program. I get numerous requests from our veteran members to do more of them. Todd, can you do another one? I can't get my agents there, on this date, and I want to come, but can you do another one? And this is from people that have been there regularly. So if you haven't been to a Platinum Outside Sales Agents Workshop, it's not too late to get there. There's maybe about 10 seats left that I last heard of. So it's not too late. You can still get there. In Toronto, we're going to start next, Wednesday the 15th. So do not purposefully miss this event, please. Now, here's how they started, okay? Craig and I were talking 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and and I told him, well, I got all my agents coming in here at the end of the month. I do a workshop with them, and he says, well, why don't you do that for all the Platinum members? Why don't they just send their agents to you there in Atlanta, and while you're teaching your agents, you just teach the other Platinum members' agents what it is you want to do. And I'm like, that's a great idea. So we opened up my end of the month training workshops to all the Platinum members and their agents. And literally, I used to do them every month because I was training my team. Well, when I sold my real estate business, obviously, I wasn't doing it. So we've worked the schedule in now for our Platinum members to do these workshops once or twice a year. I'm considering doing one here in Atlanta for everyone that can make it sometime this winter. So I'll let you know on that. We'll discuss that come Orlando at the October conference. But anyway, just wanted to reemphasize again that it's probably the best 2.5 days in terms of pure structure of how to get more business converted to appointments, to signed agreements, to referrals and testimonials, and everything necessary to do that, and then leveraging that business to get more. I don't think there's any better 2.5 days than what we do right there. So I want to encourage everybody to do it. All right. Oh, you can go to the coaching site, register at up in the upper left-hand corner, click on the schedule tab, and you can get registered right there if you haven't done it yet. And that's important you do. Oh, let me say it. Ruth has been all over me to tell you guys that are living in and around the Toronto area, Montreal, and other areas where you're going to be driving in, that you still need to go to the website and register. Otherwise, there's not going to be enough materials there for you. So we've written names on the materials. So if you show up and you haven't registered, well, it's only because we don't have your name on any materials that they wouldn't be there for you. All right? So anyway, want to get that out there and do that little promo. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to get into today just briefly, and then we'll get Craig involved. in this conversation is he's the master at it for sure, and that is how we spend our time. Okay, so the promo that I sent all of Platinum members was about, who are you cheating? Okay, let me give you an example. I believe that the more income that you have coming into your business, we already know that you benefit from that directly, right? Your bank account gets bigger, you're more secure, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but you also tend to give more people a job. You take some of that money, you spread it around your community, and so if you are spending your time during the day on your email, answering emails that probably somebody else could be doing, or investing your time in listing paperwork or other activities that don't represent rainmaking activities, trust me, you're cheating a whole lot of folks. Okay, so we're going to get into specifically these rainmaking activities and how they make up only the things that you should be doing in your business, strategies to stick to those things, methods for delegating them out, and how it all ends up being a part of you really growing your real estate business. So with that, let me get Mr. Craig Proctor on the line there. Craig, did you get your coffee? Proctor, are you there? Craig, I can hear you.
Hello.
Hey, there you go.
Hi. How you doing?
Good, man. I can hear you moving around in the background there. So.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to go grab myself a coffee, and then my son grabbed me, and he wanted me to paint quickly. Had to put some spray paint on a cross that he'd made for his dog, his deceased dog. So I got sidetracked. I apologize.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that.
So how are you doing today, Todd?
Doing pretty good, man. I started out by just pushing our Toronto event again, talking about the workshops, and because that's what we're doing here. This Platinum OSA workshop. You remember almost 10 years ago when I was talking to you about training my sales team at the end of the month in these workshops, you said, hey, you should open that up to all the Platinum members. That's kind of how we got that event started.
Well, it's so important to understand that that's one of the greatest points of leverage for all of you is to help us train your team members. And it's not that you folks are bad at it. I mean, maybe some of you are. But what's the most important realization I had, and Todd, you had, is we're never famous in our own backyard. So you could be saying the exact same things to your team members that Todd and I are going to say to them, but it just seems to sink in when they hear it from a stranger. It's just the way it is. I would have our top members come to our office, like Rick Brash, and do buyer training for our team members, and they would look at Rick and like they'd never heard this stuff before. So it is great leverage to have your team members show up and hear this again from someone else, but also understand that they're in a program that's like bigger than them, that everything that you've been telling them for weeks, months, or years is being used not just by your team, but by successful realtors from all over the country. Yeah,
and it's tough to get our people to listen to us. If it's just us telling them, right? You know that?
Yes. Yep. I remember bringing my team members to my super conferences many years ago, and they couldn't believe that there would be hundreds and sometimes thousands of real estate agents coming to hear Craig. I mean, who's Craig? He's just like the guy that comes in every Monday, right? So they had no idea, that I had the whole seminar coaching side of the business going on to the extent that I did, and I think all of us have that problem where in your office you're just Todd, right? I'm just Craig. So really smart to be in Toronto next week. If you're not there, it's still not too late. Let us know you're going to be there. Let us do some of the heavy lifting for you. Let us train your team members. Your team members are your greatest point of leverage. Getting the right people but making sure they're trained and they're equipped to do a good job, and you're not setting them up for failure. Like a bit of time and money spent now at the onset with your team members will pay you huge dividends. You see, that's the leverage point with your team members, is longevity. Like there's no leverage in churn and turnover. There's no leverage in that. If you constantly have to find good people and you lose them, you got to find good people and you lose them because of lack of training and lack of systems, there's no leverage in that. You're always going to work hard. You're always going to be looking for new people. But Todd, as you know, my team members, most of them were with me for like 15, 17 years, right until the very end. And in fact, they're still at the RE/MAX office now. Frank's still there, Calvin's still there, Carol's still there. So my team is still in place, although Frank took it over. But that's the idea, is creating that kind of leverage where you not only get good people and you train good people, but they're with you for years and years and years and years, and you've actually got a business that runs, and you can rely on these great, dependable people.
Yeah, there's no question, man, that's the greatest point of leverage. Gets us right into what we want to talk about today, and that is, you and I both know there's really three ways to grow our real estate business, and I want to talk about the rainmaking activities inside each one of these areas. So, things that we should be working on, trying to get the rest of it off our plate, because one thing I'm noticing with the most successful Platinum members in our program is they're really good at this. They understand what rainmaking activities are, clearly identify them, and they basically refuse to do anything other than that. And they get mad.
Okay, that's a major point. And here's something I want to say about this. Just because you like doing something doesn't mean you should do it. Okay? How many of you, I don't know, you might like to wash your car? Okay, that doesn't mean you should be doing it. How many of you like to do paperwork in your office, or you like to pull off the hot sheets, fool around on the MLS? That doesn't mean you should do it. I mean, hey, I like to watch TV, but if I do that all day long, I'm not going to sell a lot of real estate. So what happens in this business is we have a tendency to spend time to be attracted to the things that we like, the things that we're good at, and we choose to spend our time doing those things, even though on the surface, if you take a look at it from the 10,000-foot level, it doesn't make sense, right? How many of you, if Todd and I were to follow you around and we were to write down what you did all day long, we would catch you doing all kinds of silly things where it's not a rainmaker activity. You can't change the outcome. You could replace yourself with somebody for $5 or $10 or $15 an hour. And then the silly part is, and I've done this, we've all done this, is we defend it. We defend what we're doing, even though we know, there's better ways that we can spend time. So let's talk about this whole idea of being good with time. Time management, all kinds of courses on time management. But the truth is, and Earl Nightingale said this once, he said, you can't control time, you can only control activities. That the hobo in the park has the same amount of hours as the great industrialist. It's how you choose to spend your time. So how do you choose to spend your time? Well, you shouldn't leave it to chance as well. The first recommendation I have is create a perfect week. Map it out. Create this perfect week for yourself. This is what I'm going to do day one, day two. Something I did for many, many years, Todd, is every night I would write down, I'd have a little notepad next to my bed, and I would write down everything that I wanted to do the next day and then try to prioritize them, okay? Of all this, the 5 things I've written down here, this thing's going to happen first, second, third, and so on. Now, there's a couple of reasons I did this. Number one, I wanted to hit the ground running every day knowing, exactly what I needed to do. But has this ever happened to you, Todd, before we wake up in the middle of the night and you've got like some great idea and, I want to write it down because if I don't write it down, this is what would happen. I would be tossing and turning all night thinking about this great idea and panicked about, well, maybe I will forget about that in the morning. So great idea. Always have a notepad and a pen on your nightstand. You have like some amazing epiphany in the middle of the night. You can just write it down and then go back to sleep.
Yeah, I keep a notepad next to my bed in the desk drawer. Sure do.
And if you folks notice this as well, I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but in the middle of the night, sometimes you have your best ideas because your brain is like you're kind of relaxed, and it's the unconscious, like it's your subconscious mind. It's just like, have you ever noticed this, Todd, when you're on vacation? Sometimes you're just relaxed, you're on the beach or whatever, and you've got some amazing idea, or you've got clarity in your business, and you realize, holy cow, I can't believe we've been doing it this way, because it's just come to me now. This is a much better way of doing it. So sometimes we just have to, go into relaxation mode, get away from our business, and you'll have these epiphanies. But you don't write them down, chances are they're going to be forgotten about.
Well, there's, and I've said this before, that part of a rainmaking activity is making a list of rainmaking activities. And
true enough,
working from a to-do list so that you stay on task, because it seems like that I write stuff down. I come in, I sit down, I've got my notepad right here, right now. It's sitting right next to me on the things that I need to do today and tomorrow and the next day. I'm working from this list. Well, it's only like 5 things on the list, dude. I've gotten 2 of them done. So it's a struggle for me, and I even teach it.
Well, look, if you're not doing this, how many of you can relate to this? You go home at night, you've been busy all day. Like, I get that. Busy all day, you're exhausted, but you didn't get to the key things that you really wanted to accomplish. How many of you can relate to that? You get home, you're sitting there after dinner, and you're unwinding, you're reading the paper, you're watching TV, and you realize, holy cow, there were like 2 really important things I wanted to do today. I never got to them. I was busy. I was crazy busy all day long, but the 2 most important things didn't get done. We're filling our time with stuff, but not the most important stuff. So obviously there's a pecking order to this. And this is what people would always say about me. They would always say, Craig, how do you get so much done? People would always say that, because remember, not only was I selling 500 to 600 homes every single year, married, 3 kids, and I had my seminar and my production business humming along pretty nicely as well. And I know, Todd, people say that about you as well, because that's what you're doing right now. You've got an awful lot of things going on, and some people would wonder, well, how's this guy got time for his wife, his kids, 2 separate businesses, all the things that you've got going on, and then spending all the time with the members? Answer, you got to be pretty organized. Mm-hmm. So here's what we know about successful people. Successful people have a huge disdain for things or people that waste their time. Like, Todd, I can't imagine that you waste your time doing, to me, things that are a huge waste of time, and you don't let other people waste your time. You don't let people steal your time. And you're not rude about it, but you have a huge value for your time. You know that, and you protect your time. You protect your activities.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I'll give you an example of that, since you're on that subject, is incoming emails. Over time, your email inbox seems to get clouded with everyone. So I've been able to effectively slice and dice email addresses. So a lot of the emails, except for the ones coming from Platinum members, just about every other email I don't see, I don't get, doesn't come to me.
Okay, this is really important. I want to hear what you're doing, because email, it's been sold to us, it's going to save you all kinds of time, and it can save us lots of time if we use it properly. But as you've just mentioned, email can be a huge time suck. I talk to agents that say they spend hours every day answering emails and going through their emails and still losing emails. One thing I want to recommend is if you're going to deal with your emails, deal with them. A lot of realtors, I notice that they do this. They go through their emails. They're kind of like half read, and they don't reply to them, and then they find themselves later the same day rereading the same emails and then answering the emails. I'm going to say you've got to have a system for emails. So, Todd, let's hear your system of how you deal with this massive amount that you get, because you do get a massive amount. Which ones get to you, and how you handle that?
Yep. So the only email, well, first of all, I've got, 4 different email addresses, I guess. Actually 6 if you count my home and stuff like that. So I've got things going to my wife that I don't want to see. household items, people calling about, cleaning the pool or cutting the grass and all that kind of BS. Bills, that my wife takes care of some of those kinds of things. So I don't want to see them. They go to her. And stuff about the school, so we've kind of got an agreement between us that, she kind of runs point on those things, gets me involved if we need to be involved. Not that I'm involved in it, but, give me an example, setting up the kids' schedule. So fortunately, I got a wife, that can do those kinds of things, because, when you got kids, your life can be really, really busy there. So she knows that I'm into business, and there's people and members that are going to, need my time and stuff like that. So there's certain things I can do around the house and I can do. So even the personal items, okay? Another example would be my softball team. And it's a high-level, very, very, very busy-oriented travel, fast-pitch softball team. And, we're one of the top 5 teams in the country. And I literally get about a dozen emails a day just for that, okay? So I've got a separate email address system altogether for that, and they just don't get to me, unless there's, some real problem there. I've been able to effectively delegate that. Essentially, most of the customer service issues and day-to-day contacts have to do with the Platinum program, the billing system, prospects even, are all run through other people before they get to me. So I get to spend my time doing what I'm really good at, which is working on marketing to bring in new clients and retaining existing clients in the real estate business, in the coaching businesses that we do, because that's what I'm really good at. I'm not very good at the other stuff, so I've just made it a point that I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm just going to screw it up. So, and other people are better at it. So, yeah, just using different email addresses, going to different people, both personal and professional, has made a big difference for me. Here's a good question, Craig, a good point, a question that I was asked on Tuesday when I was in Arlington, working with some of the coaching members, and the lady stood up and she goes, I'm really interested in being a part of the Platinum program. How many members are there? I said, there's like 200 members. She goes, how can you possibly help 200 people? And I was like, well, that's the same thing as asking me how I could sell 500 homes a year. It's difficult for me to answer it, other than I'm really good at systemizing things, so that I don't have to repeat myself over and over again, and I can spend my time doing what I'm really, really good at, which is helping people more specific on a topic versus generally. So anyway, those are just some ways that I've done with email address, and it's been a big deal for me, because I think that's the #1 time suck here for all of our members listening to the program today, for sure.
Yeah, good advice. With my real estate office, all the emails would come into Cindy. So Cindy would answer most of those. Of course, in the production side of things, all my emails go to Ruth. And then a few of you have my private email here, and even that is systemized. But just, I think most of us would agree the point we're making is email can be a huge time suck. Okay, so just be careful with it. My recommendation, this is what I do. In the morning, I go through all my emails. I try not to touch emails a second time. First thing I do is I just go through and I delete all the stuff that I don't need to look at. Just delete it. Just boom, boom, boom. That's out of there. And then if I open an email, here's what I try not to do. Open it, read it, oh, I'll look at that later. Because now you got to touch the thing twice. It's better just to look at it and deal with it. Now, when I say deal with it, what do I mean by that? Well, either you delete it, okay, you forward it to someone else, which I'm pretty good at that. This is, Ruth, this is for you, Stephanie, Todd, this is, I'm pretty good at forwarding things and, getting them to the right person, or I answer it. But what you don't want to get caught on is going back and touching the same emails over and over and over again, because that can be a huge time suck.
Yeah, but see, that bothered me, though, Craig, was that I had to look at it and forward it, because my tendency was to weigh in on it and say something. So I just getting them forwarded. Hey, speaking of that, I think everybody knows this, but inside of the Success website, for example, the leads that come in, you have a place for a secondary email address. So two people can get the same lead as it comes in, for example. So that served me well in my real estate office as well, without having to look at the leads and then forward them on to somebody. Essentially, for each form, each kind of lead. So, for example, let's suppose I had an agent that was excellent at those over-the-net home evaluation leads. Okay, well, you could still come into my database manager, but instantly too the best agent for those kinds of leads could get it. So there's a way to manage this whole email process that doesn't involve you. And I've noticed recently here where some members have stepped up and says, hey, I got an email address that's just for me and you. The other one my office manager gets. And so email me at this one, because this is the only place I receive email. My office manager forwards me emails that she thinks I need to see, based on rules that I've written. So I had this conversation not too long ago with Nathan Clark about that. He's done a really good job, delegating all of those necessary things and managing email. So anyway, we could probably.
By the way, this is what should happen with your leads as well. Like when my leads would come into Cindy, those that I saw were the leads that I told her I want to see. Right, so that having that set criteria for I only want to see, these types of things, and everything else, here's what you're going to do with that. What happens is, you don't get clogged up.
Yep, that's a great point, man. I'm telling you that it's difficult to articulate, but the whole email thing, if you're the team leader and you're getting everything sent to you, that's a huge mistake. You got to take a step back and write down only the things that you believe you should see.
Well, with the leads, Todd, that's how it used to work, right? I was of the mindset I've got to call them all back, and then like most of you, I'm sure you found, is some of the leads are way better than others. So for me, any of the seller leads, I wanted those seller leads because I was a big lister. So there was a pecking order to that as well. I wanted all the seller leads, online home evaluation that checked off yes to selling in 6 months or less, the area home sales report, costly home seller, any of the seller editorial ads that request a report number 1, those came to me. All the buyer campaign leads would go to Carol. So when Cindy would pull these off, I wouldn't even see any of the other leads. That was really good for me now because I was able to actually get through all the new leads. You see, before I had that system set up, she might throw on 50 leads on one day on my day timer, and I'd start calling the leads, but some of the really good ones would not get called. I wouldn't get to them because I was some of the B leads. So I wouldn't get to some of the A leads. So that doesn't make sense, right? So let's understand there's a pecking order to these leads, and you probably know this. You probably know which of your campaigns produce the best leads. Make sure that you, the rainmaker, are cherry-picking those leads. Okay, another mistake, of course, would be giving away all the leads. Don't do that. Nobody's more motivated to make those phone calls than you. Nobody's going to be as good at making those phone calls as you. Cherry-pick the best leads. And by the way, when you call the best leads, you also should be cherry-picking the best appointments. Don't be giving away. See, that's a mistake we see quite often, Todd, is we get agents, they start thinking, well, the team is the answer, and they move themselves out of the business way too quickly, and they figure, okay, I'm the rainmaker, so I'm going to delegate. I'm not going to call any of the leads. I'm going to delegate all that. I'm not going to go on any of the appointments. But that's not what you and I did until the very end of our careers. What we did for most of our careers while we were building our business is we cherry-picked the best leads. You and I called the best buyers and sellers, and we worked with the best sellers. That's how you have high profitability, is you cherry-pick the best of the best. Now, sometimes I'm challenged by that, and Platinum members will say, well, Craig, that's not, our team members will say, well, that's not fair that you cherry-pick the best leads. Well, what do you mean not fair? It's your business. How can it not be fair? Like, are we going to flip it around? You're going to get the leads and the crappy appointments and give the best leads and the best appointments to your team? I don't think so. So, I just want to make sure everyone understands the way that we think. It should be the way that you think. There's a pecking order to what you even see. Whether it's you're only going to see certain emails, you're only going to see certain leads, you're only going to be calling certain leads, you're only going to be going out on certain appointments. So set it up that way, and then you won't even be tempted or be, the important things won't get lost in the avalanche of emails and leads and distractions. And there's just like more distraction now today than ever before. And I think online marketing has kind of made it worse as well, because we should talk about that for a second. There's so many distractions out there, so many ways that you can advertise and you can promote. Like, surely you're focusing on what works the best, right? Because I promise you this, if Todd and I were to analyze, if you have the statistics and we work together and we analyze your business, I bet you 70 to 80% of your business comes from 5 things. Okay, so what happens is we get distracted by all the other things that we do that produce only 20% of the results.
Or less.
And we see, right, or less, right? And that was a real eye-opener in my business, because, I love marketing, as you know, so I could never say no to a good opportunity. So I'm running this ad here and that ad there and this campaign, and we're running dozens of campaigns in all these different mediums. And what I started to do is I started to, when we entered a lead, okay, we'd enter a source code. So when we create a contact card for a new prospect, okay, Bob Smith, there would be under lead source on my contact card, it would have a pick list. So Cindy was forced to select how this lead originated. So it might be online home evaluation from a postcard. So she clicks that. So every lead that comes into the office, we know where it came from. So what you could do, okay, like right now for the first half of 2013, what I was able to do is have Cindy generate a report of where the transactions came from. That was a huge eye-opener for me. When I realized that, holy cow, of whatever we did, 300 transactions in the first half of the year, 80% of those transactions came from like 5 things. So it helps us sort of be more specific, narrow down what we're doing. That's what successful people do, right? Successful people do a few things and they kick butt with those things. They do a few things really, really well. What does everyone else do? We're all over the place. Most people are all over the place, right? They're trying to do 100 different things, and they're not doing anything really well. They're distracted by doing 100 things. Successful people find the 4 or 5 things that work really well, and they repeat them over and over and over and over again, and that's how they become really successful. And that's the crazy part about it, is it's the people that are really successful have simplicity in their life. How many of you, if you knew those 5 things, that would make your life a lot easier? I'll just focus on these 5 things. That doesn't mean you don't test, you don't try the things, but you've done that. A lot of you have done that. You're experimenting with dozens of things. So here's what we want to do. Don't be fixated on number of leads that I get from this campaign. Who cares about the number of leads? What we want to know is just work it backwards. If you did 50 transactions or 100 transactions in the first half of the year, figure out where they came from. And what you'll find is the majority of your business comes from a few things. That's what we focus on. We focus on doing more of what causes the 80%.
It's a great point. One of the other things in there is, working outside of cherry picking leads is, just working on the business. And that's still a pretty general, broad term for a lot of people, because your definition, Craig, my definition of working on the business may be different from, a member's definition of working on the business. They may interpret working on the business to be, going into their contact management system and setting up an activity plan. Whereas, I sketched out the activity plan on a notepad piece of paper and handed it to my administrator. Said, let me know when you get this into agent office and I'll click on it and see it. And that was, that's how I did it, and just that, when you multiply those things up over, the days, then you end up saving a tremendous amount of time, or in being able to invest time into other things. Hey, one of the things I want to mention too is, on working on the business is in relationship to duplicating what it is that Craig Proctor did. does, what Todd Walters did and does. So we got too many members that seem to duplicate what it is that we do, or at least they think it's duplication, but it ends up being something totally different. So we were talking about this prior to call, and I think this is probably relevant. I'm going to open up this this email here, and I'm going to pick on Justin a little bit, only because I like him a lot, and he's a really excellent agent, and he's voracious about working on marketing. He's doing a pretty good job there in Toronto. But you can see it on your screen right now. Justin sends me an email, and he says, "Hey Todd, I've worked up some ads. Let me know what you think about them." And so I start clicking on his ads, and here's an ad here. It says, "Search the MLS just like a realtor." Okay, which is very vague, by the way. It's just not a very good ad. I'll pop up another one here, and top 6 mistakes when moving to a larger home. Free list of move-up homes in Midtown City Center. And and I'll throw up one other example. I'm not going to go through them all. Move up to a larger home. Free list of larger homes in Midtown City Center. So what you'll see here is you'll recognize some of these ads because they're right out of the ad generator and marketing manual from Craig's marketing manual. However, you will absolutely not find any ad like this. Okay, free list of homes or the like that has Craig's picture on it and his big logo and all those kinds of things. It just doesn't look like that. So there's a productive use of time. There's a non-productive use of time. So you guys are paying upwards of $20,000 to be in this Platinum Level coaching program on the guys that you really can make things a little easier on you if you just copy what it is that we do. The more time you spend on deviating from or trying to alter or try to change what it is that has been really successful for Craig Proctor and myself, all you're doing is creating extra work for yourself. Okay, now to Justin's credit, he has the ads created and sends them to me. Okay, but I've already said over and over again from day one that a Platinum member comes in is don't do that. Don't change the ads around. Just copy them. If you're going to run a display ad, if you're going to run an editorial ad, then copy it exactly like you see it on the coaching site. Craig did pretty good. He did okay as a real estate agent, netting $1 million a year, making $3-4 million a year or more every year for 10 or 15 years straight. That's a big deal. So it doesn't make sense that if the ad that you see that doesn't have Craig's picture and his logo and his name prominently displayed on an unbranded ad, that you got to think that if it would have worked, that he would have done that. You have to just make those assumptions. So I told you, Craig, over and over again that I got great job security here because a lot of members will do kind of what it is that Justin's done here, and then I get to go back and say, here's how we can make your ad better, and all I'm doing is just reminding them to copy what it is they get off the website. And one thing I've noticed that I want everybody to be aware of is that the commonalities among the most successful members, and I could run down through the list of the 30, 40 millionaire real estate agents that we have in this program, some of them close to netting $1 million a year or more, is that they do a really good job of just that. They keep it simple. They just copy. They don't try to reinvent things or change things around. They copy first, and then if it doesn't do well, we have a discussion about it. So there is something to say about working on your business, on marketing systems, but we can't make it any easier. Like you guys can just go to the coaching site and copy. So I wanted to get that over to Craig and kind of get your take on that, while we're talking about rainmaking activities here.
Well, I think we have a tendency to be creative, right? That's why we get into real estate. Real estate attracts a certain type of person. We want to be individualists. We don't want to work for somebody else. We want to, have our own business, which is great. But, you have to understand and remember why you joined this program. And although we want you to question everything, it doesn't make sense, as Todd has mentioned, to spend all this money on a proven program and then just like ignore it and go do your own thing. I've had this conversation with many of you before. I was explaining to Todd that there was an individual that Todd and I both know that took some of my best postcards and they changed them. And when I questioned the changes, because Todd and I looked at them, we just knew that's not going to work from our own experience. This member defended the postcard and told us that it was the changes that he made caused this postcard to work better than any other postcard that he'd ever run before, including all the ones that are in our system. But the funny thing is he never ran the postcard again. Does that make sense? If it was really the best postcard you'd ever run, you'd be running it over and over again. So the truth of the matter was it wasn't the best postcard. In fact, the postcard was a huge failure. But when this person was called on it, they defended their action. The postcard was a disaster. Guy never ran it again, ever, ever, ever. So although we can tweak the messages, and sometimes by being specific and tweaking the messages, we can make things work even better. But by making wholesale changes to the system, you are actually defeating the purpose of being in this program. You see, the Quantum Leap system has 6 steps. You'll never hear Todd and I veer outside of these 6 steps. If you take a look at McDonald's restaurants, they have 9 steps. All their innovation, everything McDonald's restaurants does is within those 9 boxes. Well, in our system, we've got, in the Quantum Leap system, we've got 6 boxes, and we innovate within those 6 boxes. But when we have members come along and make these wholesale changes, it's no longer our system. And Todd, every Friday when we do the ad clinic, James and I, we often chuckle because some of the ads that are sent in are not our ads. And sometimes we'll get notes saying, well, Craig, you know, your system isn't working, your ads aren't working, and James and I are looking at what they sent us, and we're like, well, we don't even see any of our ads here. The members created ads. They're ads that the member has run and has sent us, but they're not our ads. And it's kind of laughable for them to come back and say, well, your system's not working, when in fact they're not running our ads. So the ad clinic was designed for people to take our ads and make these minor changes or make them more specific and test within the boxes, but not make wholesale changes. But you're right, you've got great job security, Todd, because as long as you've been doing this and as long as you decide to continue doing this, you're going to have members that take a look at what we have, make wholesale changes, and you've got to kind of bring them back on track. And it sounds kind of crazy, but our job is really to try to get you to do what we know you should be doing. But that could be said for a lot of things. I mean, a fitness trainer at the gym probably would say the same thing, right? Every week their client would come in and they've eaten the wrong things, even though they know what they should be eating. They're not doing the right exercises, even though they've showed the member how to do the exercises over and over and over again. So if you're a fitness instructor, that's good job security too. So that's just the way it is. But the good thing about you, I got to say, you're very, very patient with people, but firm enough. I think that's the nice thing is Todd is very patient with people, but firm enough. You don't beat around the bush. I mean, you let people know exactly what they're doing wrong, and if they continue to do that wrong, I think you have the appropriate response. You're the firm and loving parent that every Platinum member wants.
Oh, yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the heck out of working with them. But the thing is that when somebody will say, how do you think this ad will do? And if it's an ad that's been changed, let's suppose it's an editorial ad, that they pulled down from the, from the ad generator or the marketing manual, and they've put their logo in it and their faces on it, and they're running the ad in the real estate section of the paper, my answer is, I don't know how good it'll do because that's not anything that Craig Proctor and I taught. Or it's not that we didn't try those things. It's just that we found a way to do it better. So I guess what we're pointing out here when it comes to working on your business, working on marketing, is that what you're exposed to through the coaching site and what Craig and I talk about, what we teach, it's what we discovered as the best ways to do things. Is it the only way? No. But we discovered it's the best ways. And I'll expand on that with another point, Craig, and this would get a lot of people thinking, might get some hands raised as well, is that I remember clearly when Steve Ray called me several years ago and said, "Hey Todd, we've got this new technology that we're going to be rolling out at the next conference that we think all real estate agents are going to love and they're going to want to do." And I said, "Okay, what is it?" And he says, "It's this the text back system that we've rolled out here that we're going to make available for members." So I'm listening to Steve pitch this to me, and nobody had it in our program. It was just coming down the pike, where we can hang a rider on a sign and you can text a number and you would instantly get information back on the listing, basically a picture in the listing printout. And and I'm listening to it, and the first thing that pops into my mind is, I don't want to put that on my signs because my signs are working really well right now to allow me the opportunity to talk directly to people. In other words, it was one of my primary major sources of closings, and I knew fully well that out of the 200 plus listings that I had on any given day at that time, that how many closings I was getting each month outside of that listing selling, but were leads that called me directly from the phone number on the sign. So the first thing that popped into my mind is like, well, I already have issues reaching people that don't want to talk to me or not expecting my call. That's one of the biggest problems I have in my real estate business, is what I told Steve. I said, look, I've already got a lot of leads, dude, I'm chasing down right now that aren't expecting to hear from me, from the pay-per-click marketing systems. The last thing that I want to do is generate, more leads that don't want to talk to me. Plus, I'm nervous that if I give people the option next to my phone number not to call me, that they may choose that option. And I don't really want to mess it up. It's accounting for a lot of closings right now. But you're welcome to, talk to the, coaching members about that, and the platinum guys, and, what they can test it and see how it goes for them. So that's kind of how we looked at it. But again, I was skeptical, and because it wasn't on Craig's sign, it didn't get on mine, and I was nervous about doing those things. So there are things in technology that come down the pike, like IDX systems, that deviate from the quantum leap system that Craig and I do and work on. And it seems, Craig, that many of our members are attracted to these shiny new things, and that it might be better than what we did. God, it's a wonder how we made $3 million plus in commissions every year, in the dark ages, I guess. But people are attracted to these new things, and I fully understand that. And that's not to say that some of the new things that come down the pike aren't really, really good. But as example, I just gave you one with the text writer, is that you can absolutely decrease the number of people that you hear from directly from your for sale signs, increase leads, but you're talking to less people. That's a possibility. For some it has been, for others it hasn't. Same thing with IDX technology. Our success website that works so well has a form that people fill out to request the list. So we get their information, their contact information, in exchange for the list of properties. Okay, well, the IDX system, it's instantly given to them without us having to call. So we're giving them access to our home hunter service, right? So now when we call them back, if we're going to offer them access to all the homes matching their home buying criteria, the offer's off. It doesn't work. There's a deviation from the system that we had in place because they're already getting it. So a new offer has to be looked at and done. Fortunately, we can keep pace with technology, and we've been able to help people do very, 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 very well with the changes in technology over the years. But I want everybody to know that when it comes to working on your business, especially on the marketing side, that you're always well off and better off to copy proven successful things to the T, start there, and then we can deviate out from there as as we see fit, and I think you'll be the better off for it. That's the commonalities among our most successful members. So hopefully I made a good case on all that, and I'm not trying to, beat up or disparage, new technologies and things like that, but we have to be really careful about that. For example, the SMS text thing, Craig, my guess is the person that put that sold that to someone to put on a for sale sign was not in the real estate business getting a lot of sign calls, selling houses, calling back the leads. Just a guess.
Well, that's a problem with a lot of the technology that's pushed at us. It's not created by real estate agents. It's created by people that don't understand our business and don't understand the application, or they think they do, which is the worst category. They think they know what we do when they really don't know what we do. So careful. A lot of things that are pushed at us sound good, but some of the things are actually hurtful to our business.
All right, so let's talk about this, just kind of get into all the rainmaking activities we've kind of listed here. We talked about cherry picking the leads, right? Now, when I cherry picked the leads, Craig, I would call the leads back, book appointments, but it didn't necessarily mean that I was going on all those appointments. Because even though the lead looked one way, when I get on the phone with them and book the appointment, turns out that the appointment probably is one that I should delegate, if I could. So cherry picking the leads does not mean I'm booking appointments for all those guys and keeping them for myself. It may mean that, but it may not mean. So I was quick to delegate appointments, and I'll give an easy example to follow. Right? I'm on the phone, and with the guy it's a first-time home buyer. He wants to go buy a house, $150,000 price range. I booked that appointment up, for tomorrow, to meet with them tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Okay, so I make the next call, and it's also a buyer, but he has a house to sell that's a $175,000 range. He wants to buy a $300,000 property, and they want to talk about what they can expect to sell their home for, and he's available tomorrow evening about the same time. Okay, well, I booked that appointment for 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., the following day. So now I've got a conflict. I've got 2 appointments that I've kind of double booked, done on purpose. Because while I'm booking the second one, I already know, okay, now I'm going to delegate that first appointment that I made to buyer's agent A so that I can do this one. So anyway, I see that a lot of agents would not do that. They would say, well, because they've already booked an appointment for a $150,000 buyer and they're talking to the $300,000 move-up with house to sell, they may tell them, well, I can't do it tomorrow night. I'm already booked. But how about the next day or Saturday morning? Can we do it then? And the guy says, I don't know. I have to talk to my wife. I'll get back to you. So I had an appointment, but then I kind of undo it myself, thinking that I've got to do them all. And that served me well by cherry picking the appointments after cherry picking the leads. And I'm sure that you did the same thing in your business, because that's where I got it from.
Yes, all leads and all clients are not created equal. Well, that's true, right?
No.
So to treat them equally when they're not created equally is like not smart.
Okay, so that's kind of the we'll call those rainmaking activities, cherry picking the leads, cherry picking the appointments. All right. Next thing we talked about was working on your business, primarily marketing. Okay. And that's not a difficult thing to do, because I give everyone a list. As a matter of fact, I'll just throw it up right here. If I bring up my email, and I scroll all the way down, right here on my email, if you can see it, I'll double click on it, is my top picks for getting listings. Okay. And everything here is right at the coaching site. I even go into great details to explain everything. Okay. Move up buyers on pay-per-click. I'll just throw it up there. Right here it says, okay, here's where the materials are. And here's a webinar to watch all about that subject. Okay, this is a pretty simple thing right here. Okay,
it is. I'm thinking as I'm looking at this, Todd. I'm thinking if our members would just do what's on this email here, or pick 3 or 4 things on this email and actually just do it exactly the way you've got it laid out. You don't have to mess with things. You don't have to ask questions. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it. But it's almost like some of our members are thinking, well, it can't be that easy, right? Like I really need to understand the inner workings of this. I need to, I need to make it really more difficult than it is. It's not. Just go do this. He's telling you right here in this email. Todd's telling you exactly. If you want listings, just go do this. Go do it like this. Run this and do it this way. You don't have to do them all. Pick 3 or 4, but do something. There's power in today. You want to know where there's no power? Tomorrow or maybe or later. And how many times do we hear that? Yeah, I'm going to get on it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I got to get to this list. Todd, you've sent me this list a few times. It's really good. I'm going to get on it. Look, there's no power in that. There's power in now. There's power in taking action right now. So take this list and just, Todd is weekly telling you, just go do this. And, many of our members do. They just go do it. And we love those members. No questions asked. They don't fight it. They don't argue it. They don't try to overanalyze it. They just go and they do it, and they get great results. And, we're not suggesting you don't understand it or, understand the inner workings of it, but that will come. I'd almost rather have a realtor where their motto is ready, fire, aim. Right? Those are some of our best members. Ready, fire, aim. Mm-hmm. Let's just run it, and we'll figure out the details later. You and I kind of run that way a lot in our business, right? I mean, our real estate businesses were everything wasn't, we didn't wait till things were perfect or the time was perfect to do things. We would work in reverse quite often. Run the ad. Okay, we run the ad. Well, we got to get the website up now. We got to figure out the report because the ads are coming out tomorrow. So, there's power in now and just doing it. Sometimes, you're not going to understand everything. Be okay with that. Be okay with not knowing everything about everything. Don't use that as a reason or excuse not to do anything. So I don't know, maybe our personality was blessed that way, Todd, that we're kind of okay with ready, fire, aim. I see too many realtors, they're ready. Oh, we're not quite ready because we're still aiming. No, not quite ready yet. They never pull the trigger. They never fire.
Yeah, I like the comments that it's not perfect yet.
Hey, you know what Wayne Gretzky said? I know you're a big hockey fan, Todd.
Oh, yeah.
Wayne Gretzky said this: you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. You writing that one down? That's a good one.
That's a great point. That's true. So a lot of missed opportunities, and it's painful to watch. Some folks in our membership that just stay at the same place for long periods of time, while others are just skyrocketing, escalating their business. A lot of it comes back to the next rainmaking activity I want to talk about, and it's leveraging the people. For example, one of the hurdles that a lot of newer members have to overcome is they believe it's risky, or they don't have enough money, which means it's risky to run out and hire an administrative person to help them, an agent, former agent that can handle all of the paperwork and transaction details and listing coordination, customer service support, so that they can go out and sell. They say, well, I don't have the $3,000 extra to pay them every month right now. And my response is, dude, I think it's risky not to do that, has been my thing. And, my story is pretty simple. My first hire administratively, I didn't have any closings on the book at all. I just knew that I was starting to get busy with things that I thought were money-making activities, trying to show property to some buyers, and couldn't get to some of these other things. So I called up a lady I knew, and I paid her with my credit card when the payroll came around. But I negotiated with her. I said, I can pay you $500 in 2 weeks, and I can pay you $1,000 the 2 weeks after that, and then by the 2 weeks after that, I think I can get up to a couple of $1,000 for you a month in cash there, and we're off to the races. Are you willing to do that? And she said, yeah, because she didn't. Well, her other option was to go back home and not work. So that's how I got into my first hire, And literally the first 30 days, Craig, the first 2 paychecks, I paid her with my credit card. Now, I'm not telling people to go out and do that, but I saw it as more risky not to do that, is just the way that I looked at it, because I knew what I was involved in, I believed in it, and I believed what I was doing was going to produce great outcomes. And of course, it did. I mean, a commission check was worth $6,000. So definitely worth working on the commission checks to earn the $6,000 versus doing the things that didn't really get me closer to closing. So you and I both agree, leveraging people, rainmaking activity, looking for really good people is something that we should always be doing in our business as a rainmaking activity. I don't think it could be any more clear as part of the Quantum Leap system.
Right on.
Yeah, the other thing too I'll touch on, then we'll take some questions here that I wanted to throw at you was, was analyzing technology, working on technology, using technology. I'm going to give a couple of examples. I'm not going to name any names, but they will know who I'm talking about when I bring it up. Infusionsoft shows up on the scene. And you and I, Craig, we had this conversation behind the scenes, and I don't know if, don't get mad at me if I'm saying something I shouldn't here, but you and I agreed that if it required thousands of dollars, $7,000, $10,000, $12,000 to create a contact management system to work for us, that a couple of things were going to happen. Number one, the team leader would become enamored and get really involved with it because they were concerned about their investment that they needed to make, or nothing would ever happen with that particular contact management system because they just could never get to it because there was a big financial investment made, or they would personally fall in love with it and spend the majority of their time screwing around with it. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, you just get top producer. Like, we did okay with Agent Office. We did okay with that. We sold a couple of houses a month using it. And when we first rolled it out, you couldn't even network to it, right? So you remember that. So the thing is, it's kind of like the shiny new object syndrome. But I see a lot of members that get really, really involved in the technology, fall in love with it, spend all their time and energy and a lot of resources tinkering with it to make it work for their business. And I'm just like, that's not really a rainmaking activity. And then I would ask them, how much money did that make you? How much money is it making you? And they can never give me a number. It just gives them some sort of peace of mind that their business is running better. And the whole time, you, Craig, and me, we rarely spent time inside our contact management system screwing around with other people.
Well, look, it's a balance between, of course, we've got to be open to new technology and what it can do for us. And we don't want to be a slave to the technology. Here's the deal with Infusion. You got to be really smart to use it, or you got to have somebody really smart that you pay. Okay, so think about that. You're either going to pay somebody really smart, or if you're really smart with it, you're doing it, and even though you're not paying you, opportunity cost. What we see is a lot of our members spending countless hours messing around with Infusion, and their sales are not increasing at the same rate. Now, some of our members will defend this, but Todd, you and I have often said if they just simply took the time, all the hours, the weeks, the months that they spent fooling around with Infusion, and they just went out and sold real estate, they would make way more money than what the Infusion's going to do for their business. And maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe we'll have some of our members who have dramatic increases in their business. But so far, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out on something, but I haven't seen anybody that's had dramatic increases in their production that are in proportion to the money and time they've spent on Infusion. So, that's not a good trade, right? Now, and I understand the allure of something like Infusion, right? The allure is the computer will do the work for me. It'll follow up for me. It's going to convert the people for me. Well, I'm just saying, I haven't seen technology do that yet. I've seen people do it. Here's the deal. People sell houses. Computers don't sell houses. And I'm sure it can help us. I'm sure it probably does wonderful things. And maybe I'm too hard on this. But my point is just be careful. Be careful how you spend your time. I think some of our members, Todd, they're so far into the infusion thing right now that, of course, they're going to defend the time and the money they've spent. Like, I can't give up now. I've got 30 grand into this thing, or 40,000 in a year and a half and countless hours into it. Heck, I can't stop now. Sometimes it's good to cut your losses.
Yeah. And this let me make sure I say this the right way, but I'm kind of thankful that when we were growing our real estate businesses, and I'm growing mine basically on your coattails, that we didn't have email when we were really getting after it. Email kind of come along a little bit later when we got used to it. And I can think back that the more energy and time I spent on email follow-up, the less results I got. We were way better off with our follow-up materials when they were being delivered by mail. Something as simple as the fulfillment of the free report request. You and I both know that
we have to be careful here, Todd, because when we start to talk about, if we start to diss new technology and we start to talk about direct mail and the things that we did, we could be, it's dangerous. We could be positioned as the old men in the room. Okay, so look, all I'm going to say is just be careful with all the distractions that are out there. Okay, just be careful. Todd and I know what we did that works really well, and I understand the attraction that you have to, that some of you have to, like, wouldn't it be great to have the robot, the computer take care of all the heavy lifting? And we do definitely support automation. We absolutely do, but at what cost? The automation, okay, should cause proportional gains in productivity. So you'll never hear Todd and I say, well, don't invest in technology that makes your business proportionally increase. We would never say that. Our message is clearly this: don't spend a disproportionate amount of time and money on technology that doesn't increase your business proportionally. And that's what's going on. There's many of you that are distracted by the next shiny object, and if it was making your sales go up, if you were kicking butt and you were calling Todd saying, you know what, I spent 30 grand on this, but my business is up twofold or threefold, we're really doing well with this, then obviously then you're on the right track. But if you find yourself spending a lot of time and money, you're distracted by a lot of this stuff, and it's actually keeping you away from increasing your sales. You see, that's the concern, is when you're screwing your Infusionsoft hours and weeks and putting all this money into it, opportunity cost. What are you not doing? Every time you decide to do something, can everyone understand this concept of opportunity cost? When you're on this phone call with us right now, you're choosing not to do something else. Okay, we make these choices all day long. So you're choosing to mess around with technology, you better make damn sure that it actually proportionally increases your business, or that's a bad choice. Because when you choose to spend your time doing one thing, you're not doing something else. And that's the problem sometimes with technology, is we fall in love with it and we get distracted and we think, well, messing around with this is going to equate to higher production, more sales, making more money. Sometimes it does, but guess what? Sometimes it doesn't. Just be careful.
Well said. Well said, sir. And, and I will, just kind of echo that. My own personal experience is that I have a lot of problems with email delivery. So, we have to work really hard to get people to opt in and accept our emails. But I know when I go to my mailbox every day, Craig, that how much mail I get. I get 4 or 5 pieces of mail, but I get 100 emails a day. So, if I want to get somebody's attention, if I'm after new real estate agents for my real estate company, for example, I'm probably going to knock on their mailbox to be more effective than trying to get emails out there. But there's a time and a place for email for sure. So we definitely support new technology and are always looking for ways. We let people in the door, present new technologies to our members. So yeah, I think you're right on there, dude, with how you stated that. There's a time and place for it, and just got to be careful. Approach it with a little bit of skepticism, and I think everybody will be a little bit better off for it. Hey, one of the things I noticed too with some of the members that do really, really, really well in our programs, they're skeptics. They're very cautious about changing things that they're doing that work really well. They're not shiny new object hunters. So that's something we can all probably learn from as well. We're going to talk more about this when we get to Orlando in November. I'm already working on that agenda, so it'll be a good place to do that. Hey, we probably should take some questions here. We've got some. So look, if you're on the webinar here, on the call, and you want to talk to Craig and I, ask a question, weigh in on some of these rainmaking activities that we laid out there so that you're spending your time doing things that matter to your business the most versus not, then here's what you do. In your right-hand corner of your screen is that GoToWebinar control box. You can click right there where the little questions tab is, and you can raise your hand. If you raise your hand, I can open up your microphone, and you can talk because I've got the control panel right here in my hand. And if you don't want to talk to us, then you can type your question in. So, for example, Nathan didn't raise his hand, but he typed the question in, Nathan Clark, and I'm going to read it to you, Craig. It's a pretty simple question here. He says, how many times a day do you check your email?
That's for me?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I already know my answer. What's yours?
All right. Not only should you use my little system with email, Nathan, it's a good system to use with returning your voice messages. So let's start with voice messages. What you might want to do is change your outbound message. Instead of saying, hi, it's Nathan, leave a message and I'll call you back as soon as I can. Change it to say, hey, this is Nathan. Can't come to the phone right now. I'm out with clients, or whatever you want to say you're doing. But I do return my calls 3 times a day. Okay, and you pick the 3 times. So if you're calling in the AM, I return all calls at by 11 a.m. Okay, if you're calling between 11 and 3, I return calls at 3 o'clock. And if you call after 3 o'clock, I return those phone calls at 8 o'clock. That way, you only need to check your voicemail 3 times a day. And I would do the same thing with your emails. For me, I like to do it first thing in the morning. I like to come in and pare it down. So what am I doing? Remember what I said? I go through them all. Delete, 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 delete. This one's for Todd. This one's for Stephanie. This one's for Ruth. This one's for James McDonald. I'm trying to get rid of as much as I can. Okay? Now, these are the ones I got to deal with. Now, try not to touch them more than once. If you open them, like I used to do this, open them, especially if it's a long email. I hate those, don't you? The ones that are as long as a book. Anyway, read it through, and then I'm going to reply to it. Don't, read a paragraph of it and then close it down, say, I'll get to it later. Then you read another paragraph, close it down, get to it later. Because you end up touching the thing 3 or 4 times. Just, deal with it. Okay? Then, after lunch, I'm going to go through my email again, and then one more time at the end of the day. 3 times. Not all day long. 3 times. That's good. Good enough. Look at the way I made my follow-up calls. I had a perfect week, right? Monday evenings, I made my calls. Tuesday evenings, I made my callbacks. Thursday evenings and Saturday morning, there were 4 preset times when I made my callbacks. And I was efficient with those, right? Remember what we said here on the call? I'm not going to call the leads. In fact, don't even dare give me all the leads. I would tell Cindy, these are the leads I get. If it doesn't look like this, don't even give them to me. Okay, I want home seller leads that checked off yes to selling, report number 1. Those go to me. Don't give any buyer leads. Give all the buyer leads to Carol. Give all the seller request leads that ask for report number 2. Give those to Carol. Don't even put them on my day timer. Don't clog up my day timer. I don't want to miss the good stuff because you've got all these B leads on my day timer. So just, you still there? I think I muted myself. What you want to do is set up these little systems so you save like an hour a day on emails. You're only calling back the best leads. You're only calling with voicemail. You're not playing phone tag. You call people back 3 times a day. Little systems like this just save you an extra hour or 2 every day. Well, now what could you do? Opportunity cost. What could you do with an extra hour or 2? You could work on your business. All that stuff that you've been hoping to get to but saying you can't get to, well, now you can. That's how you do it. You finally draw a line in the sand and you say, I'm sick and tired of complaining about not having time to implement the really important stuff. If you want to get to the really important stuff, then the less important stuff needs to go.
All right, so I'm going to open up Vic's microphone. He's got a question for us. Hang on, Vic. Here, let me see if I can. I'm going to unmute your microphone. There you go.
Hello.
Hey, Vic.
Yeah, hi. I have a question, please. At the conference Jay said he was sending postcard to sellers like what your home is worth on one side and the other side find out what your the neighborhood are selling for. And he was sending 5,000. Jay said that he was getting 65 lead out of 5,000. And I want to know which of your postcards that is in the coaching site that I can use to get more, because I did some changes on my postcard. I'm sending like 20,000 and getting probably between 20 to 30 leads. I know it's a little bit low compared to 5,000 getting 65 leads, you know?
Well, if it were me, I'll answer. The number of leads just don't matter as much as your return on your investment. And, Jay's, if you're talking about Jay Macklin, he's in the Phoenix area. And so I'm in Metro Atlanta. And based on supply and demand in the area, the culture of what's going on in the marketplace, the neighborhoods I'm sending them to, all those things have a bearing on it. So I want to measure my marketing campaign based on what it's costing me and how much money I'm making from it. So, but the cards that Platinum members are sending out that's working well, I threw them up on your screen right now.
Okay, that's awesome.
And if you want to know where they are, you can go to several places here and get them. And I don't know if I can my computer back to where it was and show it to you. Hang on one second. I'll try to do that. But if you go to the file library on the coaching site and just click on Platinum Lead Generation, file library, Platinum Lead Generation, there's a little manual that I created with Craig's Best Postcards in it, member examples. It's ID 1256. It says best branded, best unbranded postcards. Pretty simple right there. There's also a video on this topic, about how you can, things you can do that other members have done that made the cards optimally effective for them, increased response, and that sort of thing. So you may want to watch that video. That's in the Platinum Webinars section of the coaching site on the homepage. Speaking of that,
hey Todd, I'm going to have to excuse myself. I've got another call I've got to get on here in just a minute. So I look forward to seeing everyone in Toronto. I hope you all are going to be there next week. So Todd and I are working heavy duty on that. And if you can't make that, hopefully we'll see you in Orlando in October. But I want to thank everybody for being part of the program. I got to fly here, Todd, so I'll let you keep going. Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you later. So Vic, you really should do this because the postcard manual that I just showed you, it doesn't really talk about, or you can't really tell from looking at the manual, things about just sold cards, okay? But if you go to the Platinum Webinar section on the coaching site, this webinar right here, I'm looking for it right now. Oh, geez. May have to send it to you. But it's a best postcards webinar, and it freaking in here somewhere. I think it might be this one here, ID 2013-04-23. Here it is right here. 2013-03-26, best postcard marketing to get listings. In that video and in that webinar, I get into conversation about just sold cards and how and what you should be doing with your just sold cards. So let me talk about that just for a minute while we're on the topic. I was looking at one of your flyers just a little while ago. Okay, and I'm going to pull it up here for everybody to see. So bear with me one second. I think I've got it. Here it is right here. These are some of your flyers, but postcards, flyers, effectively the same thing. And right here. This is not a great example, but I'm going to use it as one anyway. You've got here sold, and I've seen a lot of members' materials where they leverage properties that they've sold. Okay. Yours is pretty good here, but it's still not as good as telling people that you actually sold the house. In other words, I wouldn't assume, let me give you my story here and it'll make sense to you. I wouldn't assume that when one of your prospects receives your marketing material and it's a just sold, I wouldn't assume that they believe or know that I was the one that sold the house. Okay, now here's why I know this to be 100% accurate. I used to go on a lot of listing appointments where people would call me, and when I got there, they're using a postcard or marketing material where another real estate agent had sent it to them, and it was a just sold card. The agent had sold the property. I knew that because I'm an agent. But the seller looking at it, the prospect, didn't know that the agent sold it. They just knew that the home sold in their neighborhood, okay, and they had some other marketing materials for me, so they called me. And it kind of went like this in their house. You know, the wife gets the postcard in the mail from the agent. We'll call him lesser agent, and it's a just sold card. But they look at it and they say, you know, the wife screams at the husband and says, you know, John, hey John, 1065 Gunter Court down the road just sold for you know, like $750,000. I'm calling Todd. So instead of calling the agent that sent them the card, so make sure that on your, and I get into this on the video, and that's why I'm highlighting it for everyone. You really want to tell people that you sold the house, okay? Don't assume that they're going because, and I know it sounds stupid, but believe me, our clients, our prospects are not engaged in this real estate gig like we are. Okay, so we got to kind of, we don't want to make any assumptions with marketing nowadays. Plus, it's just better to say, Vic sold, you know, this house in North Glen Oaks for $89,000 more than the asking price in only 7 days. Or I sold this home in Glen Oaks for $89,000 over the asking price in only 7 days. And I've still got a lot of buyers that called on this home that are looking in the area for another house. And so if you want to sell fast and for top dollar, here's what you do now. So we don't want to make, we just don't want to make the assumption that they're going to look at my stuff, assume that they should call me, and assume that they're going to know what to expect when they do call. There's too many sales messages that they're getting everywhere. We talked about that for about 30 minutes here via email. People get, you know, 100, 200 emails a day. A lot of folks, they get way less mail. So don't make any assumptions. And they're on the internet all the time. There's sales messages, radio, television. It's all about people trying to get them to do something. Somebody's trying to get you right now, Vic, to buy something, engage in something, take part in an activity, engage in some sort of service. It goes on all day long, all the time. So in our culture today, when information's so readily available, companies, businesses use it to sell stuff. Whereas 10 years ago, there was a lot less avenues, or fewer avenues rather, to reach people about buying or selling their products. Okay, so but anyway, just a word of advice there and some things you might could do to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anyway, great job, and let me know how you do with that marketing campaign.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, thanks, man. All right, I'm going to mute your mic back here. Okay, let me see if there's anybody else here that's got a question and want to say something here, because we're a little bit over time before we rock on, go sell some houses. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, it doesn't look like it looks like I've got them all. I answered a few questions there just typing, so I responded to you guys privately that wanted me to. All right, well, look, if we didn't get to something today, I want you to zip me an email, tw@toddwalters.com. That's your email, tw@toddwalters.com. All the other emails you have, I don't get, okay? So if you get something and you reply to it, somebody answers you, it's probably not me if it didn't go to that specific email address. That email address is reserved for Platinum Program members. That's the only one that I get, okay? And every other email address I have, it doesn't come to me, and that's by design, because you can get sucked up in just sitting there looking at your emails and talking to them. Now, hey, one point on that Craig made to Nathan is to pick times in the day to look at your email, but it's a timed activity. In other words, okay, just because you choose to be, okay, at 3 o'clock I'm going to check my email. All right, well, you're only going to be on it for 30 minutes. So between 3 o'clock and 3:30, email. All right, somebody get that? Between 3 o'clock and 3:30, for example. At 3:30, you're done. You got to stop. Close it up. You got to move back to your rainmaking list. Okay, if you don't do that, trust me, you'll just get headstrong down the path of not really doing the things necessary to grow your business. It's a huge time suck, though. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of other questions about that and discussion. And thanks for bearing with us, too, as we talked about the technology side of things. So we're really bullish on what works and what doesn't work. And I see people get pulled away from selling houses, spending their time doing things that you're not selling any houses, but you're not selling a house, but you're not making any money. Well, I'm going to. It's an investment for. I'm like, but you're not selling any houses, and somebody else can do that. So anyway, so like Craig said, just because you like to do something doesn't mean you should. All right, so just remember that as you weigh out your rainmaking activity. So I want to wrap it up this way, that the best way for you to help your family, help yourself, help your community, your employees and everyone is to spend your time only on the rainmaking activities. That's what God put you on this planet to do, probably since you're in this program and on this webinar. And so do that. Other people can handle everything else. Trust them to do it and give them the opportunity to. And you'll find that your business will quantum leap, as Mr. Proctor says. Okay, so with that, it's going to wrap up our little program and webinar today. Looking forward to seeing everybody on Thursday in Toronto, Canada. So make sure you bring your passport to get into the country. You're going to need it. And the reason I mention this is because there's always someone who forgets their passport. They get to the airport and they don't have it, and they have some issues. So make sure you got your passport if you're going to Canada from the United States. But looking forward to seeing everyone. It's going to be a fantastic 2.5 days Platinum OSA workshop. You won't regret being there. So that's going to wrap up our time. Let's go sell some houses. We'll see you. Thanks now. Bye-bye.